Hi, I'm Alex and Isaac with Consumer Reports, and behind me is our brand new 2023 Rivian R1S. So Rivian is a brand new electric vehicle automaker, a startup vehicle maker out of California. So it's designed in California and then they're building them in Illinois. So kind of like Tesla, but they've actually been designing this vehicle for about a decade or so, but they're just starting to go on sale. So this is the first three-row electric SUV that we've tested essentially since the Model X. The seat itself is pretty typical of what you might find in a mid-size three-row SUV. It's pretty flat, it's kind of low to the floor. The seat quality is nice, but what that means is since it's so low, you can see how far up my knees are. I don't really have any support under my legs. So it's really something that you might your kids can use, but adults aren't really gonna sit back here for very long if they fit at all. Rivian is really gearing this towards off-roading and outdoors lifestyle. I'm really excited to see how this does up our Rock Hill test, which is one of the tests we do here at Consumer Reports when we get in a vehicle that is, either claiming or has some pretty obvious off-road capability. We have a couple different drivers who do that test, and it's definitely one thing that you'll want to come back to our site and check out when we're finished. In terms of ride and handling, this R1S is really, really impressive. And what Rivian's doing differently than maybe a traditional F-150 or something like that, or another, Tahoe type of three-row SUV like this, is that they're using air suspension and adaptive dampers, as well as a hydraulic roll control system. So instead of a traditional mechanical sway bar that links the two sides of the wheels together, they're doing it all with hydraulics, which is actually pretty much what McLaren does with most of its cars. So you get a little bit of supercar technology in a Rivian if you buy one. So because Rivian is really gearing this vehicle towards outdoorsiness, camping, off-roading, they want to give you a couple nice features and tools to make that experience more enjoyable. And a lot of those features do carry over from the truck, but the first one is actually in the front door. So when you open it up, kind of like how Rolls-Royce gives you an umbrella in the door, Rivian gives you a rechargeable flashlight. So it just pops right into the door there, and what's really cool is that when you put it back in, it's charging automatically. So you don't have to worry about keeping it charged, just pop it back in there, and it's always there when you need it. So they've got what they're calling a camp speaker, which is a built-in Bluetooth speaker under here in the center console. And just like the flashlight, it charges automatically when you put it in. This is pretty sweet. You don't have to worry about bringing a Bluetooth speaker. It's just got one here built in. One of my favorite features that does carry over from the pickup truck version is the built-in air compressor. This is something that anybody who does a lot of off-road driving or even just outdoor sports and things like that is gonna find a ton of value in. Built into the side of the cargo area here is this little plastic door. You slide it open and here's the air compressor. So you have some controls here to set the pressure. I jacked it all the way up to 145, but it goes down to a couple PSI and anywhere in between. And then Rivian does supply you with an actual air hose, which is pretty cool. It comes in a little bag under the cargo cover, and you can take that and you can plug it right into the port right here and turn it on, and there you go. So something that I really like that comes new with the SUV that wasn't on the truck is the inclusion of these little lights on the underside of the tailgate. So this is actually something that I modified my own Toyota 4Runner to have, because when you're out at a campsite or maybe you're fishing is when I use mine, and you want to use the space in the back here to prepare your equipment, or maybe you're rigging up a new lure on your fishing rod, these lights shine down into this area and it just makes it, super easy to see. So the R1S is a little bit of an in-between size. This isn't exactly the size of a Tahoe, but it's also a little bit bigger than a mid-size three-row like a Toyota Highlander. And where that really comes in is with the cargo space in the back. So even with the third row, folded up so that people can sit there, you still have a decent amount of cargo space back here. It's not huge. We do full cargo testing where we see how much stuff it can hold. So we will put this through that test and you can come back and check to see just how much stuff it can carry. As amazing as this vehicle is in so many ways, it's actually kind of frustrating in some ways that are pretty basic. So when I drove it for a couple days, I realized that it's kind of a pain just to get in and out of the truck. And it mostly comes down to the key fob. So you'll notice on the side of the R1S, and the truck is the same way, that it's got these flush door handles. This is something we're seeing with a lot of EVs. It kind of helps with aerodynamics. Okay, fine, that makes sense. But what I can't do is just walk up to this thing and pop the handle out and pull it. Like almost every other car, when you walk up to the door handle and you just pull it and you have the key fob in your pocket or in your hand, it's gonna automatically unlock it and you can just walk right in. For some reason, they decided not to do that. So you have to rely either on a phone app that has to be constantly running on your phone, or you use the key fob. And a couple different people have noticed this, you know, along with myself, is that the key fob is kind of slow to respond. So standing right next to it, it's okay. You hit the button, it unlocks. But there are instances where you do that and it takes a couple seconds for it to unlock. And it just adds to a little bit of frustration on a daily basis, where if you were to own this thing, it might get a little annoying. Another aspect of the R1S that kind of makes it a little difficult or maybe annoying to live with day to day is the controls and usability on the inside. So kind of like a Tesla, this is relying completely on a touchscreen based system. So unlike something like a Toyota Camry or Honda Civic, where you could pretty much just give it to your neighbor or maybe your grandparent and they can just instantly figure it out because it's all buttons and knobs and everything's where you expect, everything is put into this central screen. So there is way more of a learning curve here. You gotta learn the menus, you gotta spend some time, set it up the way you want and figure out where everything is. But again, it will take some time to learn, and it's kind of a love or hate type of thing. So definitely check one out before you decide to buy it. So if you want to get a truck just like the one we have here, it's gonna cost you about $96,000. So Rivian is a brand new company. In my opinion, that's a kind of risky way to spend $100,000 or close to it. They don't really have a service network set up. If something breaks, you have to go through a bit of a process. Somebody has to come pick up the truck and fix it. So it's a little bit of a different type of ownership experience than you might be used to. So check back on consumerreports.org to see how the R1S compares not only to the truck version, the R1T, but also other electric vehicles and other three-row SUVs